Hey y'all, hope y'all are doing good, and I appreciate y'all tuning in to watch this video. This is the 2024 preseason preview and prediction for the Ole Miss Rebels, a team that had a really good year last year, finished top 10 in the country, and they're bringing back a ton of weapons. They went out to the portal and got a ton of players too, signed the #1 portal class in the country. So if you're an Ole Miss fan, you've got a lot to be looking forward to this season. And in most publications, they're a top 10 team, and there's not many holes in this bunch. But anyway, Ole Miss went 11-2 last year, the first 11-win season in school history. Lane Kiffin has done an amazing job with that school. He's bringing talent to Oxford that Ole Miss has never seen. Five-star talent after five-star talent, and it all starts with the offense. Obviously, Lane Kiffin knows a lot about offense, and last year they had the 13th total offense in the country, averaged 462 yards a game, and they're led by Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart had over 3,300 total yards last year, had 23 TDs, and he only had 5 interceptions. And then on top of that, they're bringing back Trey Harris. They're bringing back Jordan Watkins. Harris himself had over 900 yards receiving last year. Watkins had over 700 yards receiving. So, man, that's a deadly duo right there. And then you throw in the fact that Jackson Dart is a dual threat quarterback, himself. He can run the ball very effectively, which comes in handy, especially on the goal line. You got to keep your eye on him to do those quarterback design runs and stuff. So now they are losing their #1 running back to Ohio State. He transferred out, but you are bringing back Bentley. He had over 500 yards last year, so he's a very capable, proven running back. And then you went out and you got Antoine Wells, who is a former All-SEC wide receiver out of South Carolina. That was a big pickup. So just tons of talent all over the field for Ole Miss. Tons of weapons. On the offensive line, you're bringing back 3 starters from last year, and then you went out and you signed Kalepo from Washington. That guy, he started in 15 games last year for Washington, played in the national championship game. So this guy's a very proven player, and it was big that you added him to your roster. So that's the offense, and there's just not a lot of holes there. They look good on paper. We'll see how they gel and how they play together, because that is a lot of new people playing together, and you really never know how people play together until you get in the games and they play. So, but offensively, they do look good. Defensively, last year they didn't look so good. They gave up 50 points. Over 50 points to Georgia last year. They gave up a ton of points to LSU, even though they beat LSU. So it's crazy that Ole Miss even won 11 games last year with that defensive effort that they had. But Lane Kiffin has done what he needed to do. He has went out here and he has signed the #1 portal class. And a lot of this is on defense. Walter Nolan, notably, I think he was the #1 guy that everybody wanted in the offseason. He, in my opinion, was the best interior defensive lineman in the country last year. We played against them. Tennessee did. We played against A&M, and they were a problem. That defensive line was an issue, and it started with Walter Nolan. And then they went out and got Princely from Florida. The guy had 7 sacks. He is very disruptive. He can get to your quarterback in a hurry. And then you went out and got some linebackers as well. You got Trey Amos from Alabama, Chris Paul from Arkansas. And so you've added a lot of depth to that defense, and then you're bringing back several starters as well who played for you. So, man, I mean, there's not a lot of holes. I mean, you went out and you kind of, the issues that you had last year, you went out there in the portal and you got the people, in my opinion, that I think are going to fix that issue. So, as far as you being 68th in total defense last year, I would be very, very shocked. if you're not a top 40 defense at the very bare minimum. Honestly, I think you're probably a top 30 defense when it's all said and done with all this talent that you have. But with all that being said, let's look at this schedule and let's look at how I think Ole Miss is going to do in 2024. So you open the season against Furman. It's an FCS school. Obviously, you're going to win that game. Then you play in game 2 against Middle Tennessee. You're going to obviously win that one as well. So you're 2-0. Go to Wake Forest. Wake Forest, the last 4 or 5 years, has had a very good team. That offense is very complex, where they walk that quarterback up kind of the line like you think he's going to run, and he goes back and he throws it. And so, Dave Clawson there at Wake Forest, he redshirts his players because that offense is so hard to learn. They know that offense inside and out, but Wake Forest is just, they don't have the talent to beat Ole Miss. And they did finish 4-8 last year. I kind of see it kind of the same year this year too. They just don't have a lot of talent. So you'll be 3-0 after that game. I think you'll take care of Wake Forest. Then you come home, you play Georgia Southern. You obviously beat them. So now you're 4-0. Now, in Game 5, you play Kentucky at home, 12 p.m. kickoff. You better make sure your team's up, alert, not sleeping, because this Kentucky team could beat you. Mark Stoops plays a very physical brand of football. They're bringing in a really good quarterback out of Georgia. Their second string guy, his name is I can't remember it, but 5-star guy. A lot of teams wanted him. He's very talented. He can make all the throws, and Kentucky wanted him, and Kentucky got him. And as far as Kentucky is concerned, they got a really good linebacking core, got a great defensive line. They're very physical. They make it very hard to run on them. So Kentucky can cause a lot of issues. I still think you take care of Kentucky, but I think that will be probably a competitive game anyway. But I think you're 5-0 after you beat Kentucky. Then you go to South Carolina. South Carolina is a tough place to play. I've been on record saying that a lot. But South Carolina this year, I think Beamer's in his last year. That's just my opinion. I think they're going to struggle this year. They lost Spencer Rattler, so I think you go to South Carolina, you win that game. Now you're 6-0, and then you go to LSU. LSU is going to have a bye week. That week before, they're going to be rested. It's going to be in Tiger Stadium. They're still pissed off because you beat them last year in that high scoring game. I've got LSU beating you guys for your first loss of the season. You could win that game very easily. I mean, with the talent that Ole Miss has, that could go either way. I just got LSU beating you just since it's a bye week. They're at home. The revenge factor. I think LSU gets you, and you're 6-1 now. Then you got a bye week, a much needed bye week. You're going to play at home against Oklahoma, and I think you win that game. Jackson Arnold for Oklahoma. He's a new QB. He's very talented. It'll be interesting to see how he does in that game. But Oklahoma defensively, I think they're going to struggle again this year. I think Ole Miss is going to score 40 plus against Oklahoma. And I think the defense for Ole Miss is going to be good enough to limit Oklahoma's chances of putting up a lot of points. So I got you beating Oklahoma. So you're 7-1 at that point. Then you go to Arkansas. Arkansas is kind of like South Carolina. They're kind of like Florida. Their coaches are kind of in their last year, and they're being read their last rites this year. You'll take care of Arkansas easily. And so now you're 8-1. And now you're at home against Georgia. Now, man, this is going to be a game. This is going to be probably a late kickoff primetime game. And this game could go either way. I like the fact that you're at home. But I trust Georgia's coaching staff more than I trust Ole Miss. I think Kirby Smart, his scheme, his system is better than Ole Miss's is. And I think defensively, they make enough plays to limit Ole Miss. And I do like Georgia's I like Georgia's QB a little bit better than Ole Miss's too. So I think that being said, even though it is at Ole Miss, I think Georgia beats you and gives you your second loss. So at that point, you're 8-2. You got an open date, and then you're going to go to Florida. You're going to beat Florida. That's going to definitely get rid of Billy Napier if he's not been fired already. And so you'll go to Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, beat Florida, and now you're 9-2. Then you play in the Egg Bowl at home against Mississippi State. You're going to beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State's going to be one of the worst SEC football teams this year. So you're going to be 10-2, and that's good enough to be in the college football playoffs. I've got a slew of SEC teams being in the college football playoffs, and Ole Miss is one of them. With a 10-2 record, you're going to be in the college football playoffs. So Ole Miss, another really, really good year. That SEC slate is really tough with Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma. That's a tough schedule. But I think you do enough to get into the college football playoffs. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and that is the 2024 Ole Miss preview and prediction.